Morning, everybody. Doug Pinter from Anytime Fitness North Peoria, and Steve back in-house from Stanley Steamer. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, good morning.
Man, is it freezing outside. 23 on the vehicle on the way in.
When I got out to the deer stand this morning, it was 21 degrees out there, so a little chilly.
Did you see anything?
A couple small bucks.
Yeah, I hear the bucks are just on the move right now. I had a buddy shoot a magazine deer. He can't find it. It's on the neighbor's property. Hopefully his neighbor will hit him up with a phone call so he can go get that rack.
That'd be nice.
I guess around 190-ish. So that's a big buck.
Wow.
And talking to a friend yesterday who was in the stand last night, and he said just bucks are running all over. So hey, if you're out there driving, make sure you're keeping an eye on the road. Seriously, the deer are out moving now. The rut is on, and maybe you'll land a deer or two here coming up soon.
Hopefully.
Why didn't you shoot this morning? What's up?
I had to get in here.
All right.
I had to get out of the stand early to make sure that I got in here for you. So
sightseeing?
Yeah, just keeping an eye, perusing. You know.
You have a little bit of that deer scent on you, but I won't mention that too much today. Hey, happy Veterans Day to everybody out there. Most importantly, thank you for what you do out there. Thank you, Steve. You're a veteran,
Yes,
correct?
sir. Yep.
When did you serve? What's going on? Where
I
were you?
served from 2008 all the way up till 2015, and then I got out. I was going to do reserves, but some family things ended up happening, so decided to.
7 years of service?
Yep.
Thank you.
So.
To my dad's a veteran. My brother-in-law, Bill, did a couple tours over in Iraq. One of our employees at Anytime Fitness, John Bupa, he's a veteran. My accountant, Ken Allison Tax Consulting, he's a veteran. The list goes on.
Yep.
So I plan, I've reached out to several this morning, but I just want to do a mass shout out to all of our veterans out there for, just setting the bar high. I was watching ESPN this morning, and they were showing ESPN's being broadcast from a fort, I believe, down in Texas right now. And they were showing some of the coming home stories. And man, if that just doesn't make you stop what you're doing, smile, even cry a little bit.
I'm gonna say it tugs at your heartstrings just a little bit every time. So
when you were gone, let's talk about that, Steve. When you were gone and you came back home, I know you have family, 3 children, correct?
4.
4 children.
Yep.
I'm terrible at counting.
Nope,
so
that's all good.
I apologize. When you were gone, how many children did you have? What was that like?
It was interesting. My wife, she was actually pregnant while I was gone. And then my youngest daughter, when I got home, she was 3 months old when I came home. So first time seeing her. So it was extremely emotional when I got home, first time seeing my daughter ever and everything else. So it was very nice.
If you don't mind, when you're overseas and your wife is giving birth to your child, what does that do to you?
It was very emotional. It was funny because, obviously I don't know when she's going into labor and everything because, we were out in a fob in the middle of nowhere. And so, I got the random message. It didn't even come from a phone call to me. It came to, my leadership. And they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, your wife, had her baby. Congratulations. And then it was business as usual after that. So, very short-lived celebration, and then you get back to it and you think about it when you can and you move on.
I can't imagine the feelings you had when you got home able to hold your little girl.
Yep. Yeah, it was very emotional. It was interesting, that's for sure. It's a little bit different, but
hopefully all of you out there right now, if you're sitting at your desk or if you're driving, keep on driving, but pause and reflect. We got it made here in the United States of America. We really, really do, with these brave men and women serving our country every single day. Missing births of children, this is real. My friend Ken, he was gone over Thanksgiving 2 years ago. And I know he was missing out on, just being around family and things. I know you have a family in the military, but still, there's nothing like coming home to see your kids and giving your wife a hug.
And it definitely makes you realize the things that you take for granted every day. Thanksgiving meal over there isn't the same as a Thanksgiving meal here, no matter what family you're surrounded with. But, it's still Thanksgiving, so it makes you happy that you're able to have it.
So Please pause, reflect. If you see a soldier out there today or tomorrow or 6 months from today, make sure you stop, shake their hand, thank them for their service, because they are truly sacrificing what we take for granted every single day.
Agreed.
That's being in the comforts of our home, around our loved ones, with our friends and family. So thanks, buddy. Thanks to all my friends out there.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So, hey, let's lighten it up a little bit. Bears are under 500. Hayward won a Gold Glove. Roy Halladay passed away flying his plane down in Florida. I mean, a lot of things going on in the game of sports. Let's start with Seattle taking on, who'd they play last night? Jeez, I'm having
Arizona.
Arizona and Sherman.
Yeah.
He's out now.
Yep.
For the rest of the season. All the players this morning, and not just this morning, but weeks past, on Friday mornings, you turn on Sports Center, there's not one player happy in the locker room that they played a Thursday night game, even on the winning team, which was Seattle. Seattle 22-16. There was a safety last night, kind of a fun game to watch back and forth. But at the end of the day, Sherman's out, short rest, Thursday night game. I do think the NFL has some things to think about on these Thursday night games. I understand ratings and money, but it's not worth jeopardizing someone's health.
Right. I mean, I think they did a good job with, giving them that extra, time period off and everything, but you start playing on basically 3 days worth of rest, and it's not enough. So.
And it's tough because Seattle had to travel to Arizona, so it's about a full day on travel with those guys. But, yeah, so Sherman, he is out. So if you got Seattle's defense in one of your fantasy leagues, you might want to hop on the board and see what other defenses are available. Sherman in the secondary, with him out, it's going to be a tough role to fill. Let's get back to the Cubs. So Jason Hayward, right fielder, brought home a Gold Glove.
Yep.
The only Cubby to bring home a Gold Glove, there was Rizzo and I believe Zobrist that were in the running for the other Gold Gloves. Neither of them got it. I kind of find it funny when I was watching ESPN the other night to watch the Gold Glove ceremony. When they were highlighting Hayward, it was all defense, not one single at-bat. They couldn't find one at-bat all year?
Nothing.
Nothing. He's not very good at the plate. However, with him getting that Gold Glove, they do believe his trade stock has gone through the roof. San Francisco's already in contact with the Chicago Cubs organization, and the Cubs are welcoming those phone calls because San Fran has one heck of a pitching group in their farm system, as well as a few in their bullpen right now. So the Cubs looking to make major moves over the offseason to fill in some of these notable players that will be.
I think it's going to be an interesting offseason, not just with the Cubs, but a lot of different teams doing a lot of different trades and trying to get themselves put back in that race. So
it'll be
interesting.
I agree. Rizzo brought home the Marvin Miller Man of the Year award. It's for giving back in the community and being active and raising money and awareness to different causes. So congrats to Rizzo. Hyde, first base coach, is now in the dugout as a bench coach. Lackey says he has one more year left in him. I don't know about that. Here's some pitchers that are on the free agent market as of today: Arrieta, Davis, Uhara, Lackey, and Dunsing.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty much the whole staff except the professor and a couple others. I mean, so I think the Cubs fans out there, get ready to learn a lot of new names and faces for next season. I don't know. Of all of these pitchers on the market, I would keep Arrieta.
Arrieta, yeah, he'd be a good keep.
Worst case, he gets moved down into a 4 or 5 role. I mean, on the pitching rotation, you could always farm throughout the season. But I do think, his playoff run, they may come to friendly terms financially so he can be with the Cubs and he gets paid. John Jay, I'll help you pack your bags. Avila and Rivera are all on the block for free agent. Epstein, he says he is very interested in pursuing high-price free agent pitching during the offseason. So the Cubs, some positive news. Cardinals, I didn't even do research on you this morning, so sorry about that. Hey, Bears 3-5. They again, we spoke, I think, last time you were on. They could easily be above 500. That Atlanta opening game at home, they dropped a couple passes. I do think Trubisky. I was reading up. Trubisky took one of the longest runs for the Bears this year at 46 yards. So
I think they're going to take the reins off of him a little bit and let him throw the ball, or are they going to just keep doing the ground and pound?
Great question. So that's one of the main questions out there right now. I think it's time to open up the playbook. They're below 500, zero chance of making the playoffs, in my opinion, behind Minnesota and Detroit running. So I say, yeah, let's see what he's got.
Open it up, let him learn something, right?
And then, yeah, you got things to work on during the offseason as well. So the Bears 3-5. I think it's pretty cool what the Bears are doing this week to honor Veterans Day, honor current and former military. They're going to do the salute to service. A lot of the players were at a safe haven for homeless veterans that are trying to become self-sufficient out there. And there were a lot of heartwarming pictures and stories on there. So kudos to the Bears doing their part. The Road Home program that's helping the veterans actually get home and helping those families, your wife you mentioned at home with the kids or whatnot, helping and just making sure the spouses are as observed as much as our veterans, because they fill a very, very important role here at home.
Yep.
And then there's a crew of them going out to visit naval ships this week and get plenty of photos with them. Today, the mascot and drumline are going over to a VA hospital in downtown Chicago, bringing lots of smiles to those veterans there. Medal of Honor going to Captain Florent Groberg. He'll do the opening speech at Sunday's football game. Just lots of cool things going on. Hey, I also want to bring an update to Zach Miller, that tight end that was in the end zone. Terrible leg injury. They had to do surgery to try and save his leg. He's home, back in Chicago, and the surgery was a success. He's got several more surgeries just to get back up and get walking. So, hey.
Long road home for him.
Yeah, man. To be on the football field, you got the world in the palm of your hands and then have it flipped upside down. Hopefully he'll keep his spirits high and continue on that road to recovery. My buddy Steve Minear with Stanley Steamer in-house, fresh out of the tree stand this morning.
Yep.
Talking a little bit about hunting. Veteran here, Veterans Day. Thank you to everyone out there. We talked a little Cubs and Bears. Let's talk about what you're doing over at Stanley Steamer. I'm driving out of my subdivision this morning, and I see ice all over a sidewalk. It looks like one of my neighbors did not turn his irrigation system off. I can only imagine what that mess is looking like. And I see street crews out. Pipes are starting to burst. What's going on?
Yep, those temperatures are starting to drop, and people are realizing really quickly that they forgot to turn off their water and water spigots and flush their lines and the whole 9 yards. Because once those pipes freeze and cracks those copper pipes or the PVC, you realize real quickly that you've got water in the basement and it sneaks up on you real quick. So
I've had some friends, they leave their hose turned on. It's on a pressure. When they grab the nozzle, obviously the water's on. Yeah, some of those friends have had problems in the past where now they make sure they turn it off, disconnect the hose. They're not having that happen. Let's talk about, if I went in the basement this morning because I forgot to turn my hose off. This is all hypothetically. I've already flooded my new home. Don't want to do that again. What's the first thing they need to do?
The first thing I would say is you definitely got to get the water source fixed. So you need to get a hold of a plumber and definitely get a hold of your insurance company. Majority of the time, with a broken pipe, that's going to be covered underneath your insurance policy. Obviously, we can't say whether it will or will not be. That's something you'll have to talk to your insurance company about. But once you get those two established, give us a call. We can get out there, try to get as much of the water sucked up as possible, get drying equipment in there, and try to get you back to the same position that you were before the water loss occurred as quickly as possible. So
yeah, if you're out there, you have the irrigation system, you're sitting at your desk, highly recommend you get that system flushed out. Make sure you get all the hoses taken off and the water turned off. Check that line to the wash machine. Remember, a few shows ago, you were talking about how we can prevent issues from happening. So your irrigation system, get the company out there to flush it, or you do it yourself. Get the hoses unplugged. Then check that hose from the wash machine into the drain line. Make sure that hasn't worked its way out, because with that tumble, I don't know, I've heard the wash machine rattling around up there. I could see how that hose could work itself
Or
loose.
if you're going out of town for an extended period of time, just go downstairs, turn off your water main, just make sure that there's nothing in there, because that usually happens with us, once or twice during the wintertime, where somebody's gone out of town, they come home and they walk into the house and it's raining, and then they're in a really big mess at that point.
I've had that happen, believe it or not, with my flood situation of years past in our old home in Morton. We came home from like a week-long vacation to realize our guest bathroom was flooded and ruined the marble flooring and the heat that was in the flooring. So when you say turn the water off, then should you go up, turn the spigots on, and just drain the entire system?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a good idea to do. Turn on the nozzles and the faucets and everything, and try to get the water out of those lines, just to make sure that there's nothing in there to freeze while you're gone, or heaven forbid, something on the back of the toilet breaks, or
you just never know.
Yeah, I mean, the list is endless, and it's definitely better to be at home when something like that happens. That way you can take care of it right away. But if you're out of town and 2-3 days later you come home and there's water running out your front door, it's never a good thing. So
you could have canoed through a portion of my house in Morton when we came back. And it was like a rainforest in the basement. Not to mention it was during the winter. Then we had the heat on.
The heat was kicking too.
Okay, so then now all of a sudden is there mold? So I'll obviously prevent what you can, do what you can so you don't run into these issues. But if you do, our trusted friends over at Stanley Steamer, Mark Hoagland, Steve Minear,
Marcel.
Where's Marcel been?
Marcel, he's staying busy with the residential. We're getting ready to hit that really busy time of the year where people are getting their carpets cleaned for Thanksgiving and the holidays. Expecting a lot of traffic coming in, and so people want to make their houses look nice. So we've got a plethora of jobs coming in as far as that goes. And
buddy, I see your trucks all over Peoria. No joke. I mean, every time I am out, I see at least one truck. I'm always waving.
Yep.
It's never you in there or Mark. It's always someone else, but always a friendly face waving back. So Stanley Steamer running, if you run into any of these water issues, or you need your house cleaned before Thanksgiving, Christmas coming up, Thanksgiving, holy smokes, right around the corner, about 2 weeks away. So Stanley Steamer, keep in mind if you want to get that house sparkling clean, get that tile redone, grouted, get it looking brand new.
Get your hardwood finished, clean the furniture, you can do it all.
Walk the dog.
Yeah, if you pay us enough, we'll walk your dog for you, paint the walls.
So, hey, let's get back to the Bears real quick. I got some stats on them. They're 6th. Okay, hold on. Before we get rolling, where do you think the Bears are? Do you think they're terrible? You think they're decent? Potential?
I would say they have potential. I'd say their defense is definitely looking a lot better this year than what it has in the past, and it's definitely on the upside. Unfortunately, their offense isn't putting out much production and putting points on the board to keep them in the game. So I'd say if they kept their defense the way it is and didn't get worse with that, but if they got some production going on the offense, they'd be a decent team.
That's where I'm worried. We're strong. Well, I shouldn't say strong defensively. They're not the Bears of past,
right,
but they have moments, right? The offense is struggling. I hope the defense can stay healthy long enough so when the offense picks up, they match up. Here we go. Offense, they're actually ranked 6th in the NFL in rushing. Howard, he's just taking a beating. He's almost like Forte. I don't know how much longer that guy can get up after the ground and pound. They're 10th rushing per carry. 4 runs of at least 46-plus yards. Again, I told you Trubisky had one of those. I think the longest scamper was by Howard just the other week. 53-yarder he ripped off from the line. Defensively, they're ranked 8th in the NFL, only allowing 312 yards per game. 10th in the NFL yards per play, which they give up on average 5 yards. They're 9th in sacks, 23 total sacks on the season. And they're 9th in the red zone, only allowing touchdowns in 48% of those drives. If you remember, the first 2 games really skewed that number. Right. Those teams were 7 for 7 in the red zone on the Bears. So you get rid of those first 2 games, clean them up. Boy, the Bears are sitting in the driver's seat as far as the defense looks.
Right.
I don't even know what that note is, so we're just going to pass. Actually, Howard's ranked 5th among all active NFL rushers. I don't know if Zeke Elliott is considered active today. He's back in the courts. And
yeah, but I feel like the rushing numbers are a little skewed as well. I mean, when you're only throwing the ball 7 times a game, that means that you're handing off that ball, you know, and making him rush that rock. He's going to bound to break out on a couple of those runs. So
he's totaled 662 yards. Akeem Hicks, 10th overall. And then Pat O'Donnell, the punter, ranked 6th in the NFL for 48.2 yards per punt. A couple teams, we'll run through the AFC leaders. In the East, you got the Patriots sitting 6-2. Boy, I think they're one of the shakiest 6-2 teams out there right now. Chiefs 6-3. To my good friend TJ, I'll never bet on Kansas City again. I mean, you owe me some money. Kansas City, I can't figure this team out either. Some weeks they're hot, other weeks they're cold. I honestly think it's Chris Smith, whether he has a good game or not, whether they move on.
So with me, looking at Kansas City over the last couple of years, they've been hot in the first half of the season, and then the second half of the season, they tend to go downhill, and it seems like it's carrying on with the trend this year as well. So
I think I said Chris Smith. I believe it's Alex.
It's definitely Alex.
Yeah, it's definitely Alex. Steelers 6-2. Here's a team that's just flying under the radar right now, but if you watch them, man, are they exciting.
Right.
I think Roethlisberger has a huge week this week. We're going to cover some of those picks coming up. And then the Titans and Jags, if you want to fall asleep in the South, they're both 5-3. Besides having Mariota as a quarterback, I pay no attention to Tennessee in my fantasy league.
I have him in my fantasy league, and he's really just not doing a whole lot for me. He's
mediocre at best.
He's just points.
How about the Rams, 6-2 this season? Who saw the Rams? I think they're the surprise team of the year. And I'm telling you what, they put up, 51 points last week?
Yep.
These guys can move the ball up and down the field.
I think they're favored by 12 points this week, too.
I believe you're real close to that, buddy. Seattle, with their win last night, goes to 6-3. So with a Rams loss, there would be a 2-way tie in the West Division. Vikings out of the North, 6-2. I don't see the Vikings losing this week. And the Saints, 6-2. You want to talk about a team that has turned their defense around?
Yeah.
There's, I don't know what the heck they've done either. I was listening to a sports show, I think it was Scott Van Pelt yesterday, and they were trying to break things down on what they've done, and they really can't pinpoint it other than they're just so much more efficient.
They're just meshing.
They're
just working real well.
Yeah, and penalties are down on them. They were making a lot of errors. Here's a team, Eagles, 8-1.
Man.
283 total points through, 9 weeks of the season, or coming into week 9?
Yep.
I mean, so
51 of them were last week.
Jeez.
Against my Broncos.
It's just a ton. Just a ton. The Eagles, I mean, again, just another stout team, not making a lot of mental errors, costing themselves points with penalties. So, again, I don't see the Eagles slowing down anytime soon. Here's a few picks for you. We got about 6 minutes left. Stick with us. I know I'm talking slow. I'm trying to pick it up a little bit. We got our good friend Steve Minear in the house from Stanley Steamer. We were talking a little bit earlier about, hey, if you got irrigation lines, temps dipping. You better get those lines blown out and cleaned up. Don't be like my neighbor and have ice all down the street. And then, also make sure those hoses and spigots outside are turned off.
Yep.
And one more preventative maintenance tip was to make sure the hose, that drain valve from the washer into that drain is actually all the way in there.
Yes.
Because they have been known to work themselves loose.
Correct.
If you're going on a trip, make sure you get that water turned off. Then go up, turn the sink on, run those lines dry. Here we go. Some of guaranteed, well, I shouldn't say guaranteed, Pinter's picks. Jake Turner, I'm sure I'm going to be getting several messages from you and Jeff Bach. Thank you for already ringing in. Green Bay at the Bears. Bears -6. Total on the points, 38. How can you not bet the over? How can you not bet the over? I think it'll be a ground game. I think it'll come down to one of the last possessions that will actually push it over the over of 38. I don't think it'll be a high-scoring affair. I see it being like 21.
I think it's going to be whoever wins the turnover battle on that one.
24-21, I'm going to actually take the Bears in a victory there. Yeah, Pittsburgh at Indiana this weekend. Indianapolis is just really struggling. I don't think we'll ever see Andrew Luck take a snap behind the center in a Colts uniform. Everyone says he's healthy except for him,
right?
And he does not want to get on the field. If you want to understand why he doesn't want to take another snap, watch 2 minutes of a game when they're on offense and watch how bad their quarterback gets beat up. He does not want to end his career that quick. Pittsburgh -10 all day long. Cincinnati at Tennessee -4.5. I would take Tennessee at home over Cincinnati. Cleveland, Detroit at home. Stafford coming off a great game. Shouldn't say great game, but a solid game. I think he lights up the Cleveland Browns. Detroit -10.5 all day long. Then your Monday night game, Miami, Snoozeville. They got rid of Jay Ajayi, making some changes against Carolina. Carolina's -9. I wouldn't touch that game. Carolina's one of those hot and cold teams as well.
Agreed.
Let's talk just a little bit of the NBA, bring you up to speed. Number one team out there with a 10-2 record is Boston Celtics. I said this several times at the end of last season. I do think the Celtics will bring home that division, even without Hayward. All right, so I know that's crazy. People out there right now are like, this Pinter guy's a moron. I think they built pieces, and Brad, the coach, coming from Butler,
right?
He coached at Butler. I think he's creating that Joe Madden atmosphere in that clubhouse. And I think Hayward's injury, he's home studying film. He's shooting. He's at the court now, shooting from a chair. He's in studying film with the team, working with those rookies, 20, 21-year-olds, trying to fill his spot.
Right.
And he's helping as much as he can as a role model. But I do think Boston has something here.
Has some potential for the future.
Yeah. I really – now, hey, look, do I think Cleveland's going to go on a run? I certainly do. I think they'll be up there at the end of the season. It's going to take a little bit of time for them to gel. How about the Pistons sitting at 8-3 right now?
Big surprise.
Big surprise. Watch them play. Offense, flawless, very seamless. A lot of selfless pass outs that I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
They're spreading the ball around.
There you go. Thanks.
There you go.
Thanks. Your Cavs, though, not your Cavs, but the Cavs sitting at 5-7, 3-7 in the last 10 games. Then the leaders over in the West Division, Rockets and Warriors, are tied at 9-3.
No surprise.
Man, Rockets look good. They're fun to watch.
Right.
What's his name? The bearded beast, over 50 points the other night, I believe. Harden, extremely efficient. I think those role players around him really help open up the lane. And, I mean, this guy's making shots from behind the three like it's his job, literally. And then Minnesota, I'm not even going to attempt that big guy's name. He put up over 40 points on LeBron James. This guy's a beast. Minnesota picks up another role player throughout the season. I think Minnesota could be right there at the top as well. OKC sitting at 4-7. I think OKC will go on a roll before the end of the year, but I think they'll finish in about fourth in that division. I just don't see the depth on their bench, especially when their big players out. The point guard, what's his name?
I can't think of it right off the hand.
Well, we're really fumbling down the stretch here.
How about Dunlap coming up on tomorrow night?
Who they got? Yeah, 45 seconds here. Let's get a quick.
I'm trying to remember who it is, but yeah,
at home.
I believe it is at home. Probably be the last home game for them. But
state bound.
Yep, they're looking on a roll and they're moving. So
yeah, I heard
it'll either be Richwoods or Washington next week.
Richwoods, my buddy Roland Brown over there. He was on the news last night. Good luck to all of our local high school teams still fighting for their spot at state. I'm pulling for Dunlap. I live there. I know a lot of people out there love Peoria, but let's go Dunlap. Right. Dunlap Eagles this upcoming week. My buddy Steve Minear taking time out of the deer stand to come in studio. Thanks, buddy.
Not a problem.
Thank you for serving our country
as
well.
Thank you to everybody else.
Yes, and to all of our veterans out there. Thank you. Doug Pinter saluting all of you out there on Daily Energy.
PeoriaLife.com